Welcome.
Hey everybody, how are you?
All right, we're going to give you a little update. This is a mid-month update, March 2020. We are dealing with a lot of different energies, tons of different frequencies, life-changing, consciousness-raising energies. This is Pluto, this is Jupiter, this is Mars. This is all of those coming together. And we're going to try to break them down and give you some dates and some degrees and talk about the big picture, okay, of the astrology and the whole meaning of all of it, because there is some beneficial things from all of this. But just remember, folks, with change, we're usually quite uncomfortable by change.
Really uncomfortable.
You're right, depending upon if you're
really
a fixed sign.
Uncomfortable.
You know, if you're fixed sign, fixed sun, fixed rising, fixed moon, this is like a pain in the ass. But we have a concentration of planets in Capricorn. And it's transformational deep stuff because Pluto is involved. And ultimately, Pluto grabs shit by the root, throws it out because it needs for things to grow. Just like after the fires, right? What did we see? After the fires
New green
there was
growth
beautiful
coming
new
back.
green growth, right?
Yeah.
And it's never easy. It is not easy. It will be hard. But we're going to uncover areas and little tools that the universe has given us to help us along with this, to help us. They're like these, it's like a toolbox sitting there that you just never opened in like many, many, many years. And so there might be things that you are familiar with, but you've forgotten about. And this is what this is. It's kind of like a throwback. We're going backwards a little bit. We're going to harness the things that we value, the things that we used to value, cultural values. So let's dive deep into the astrology.
Yep.
So now we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the recent aspects. In another video that we've put out where we discussed the full moon and the whole Virgo hygiene thing and how we're seeing a big concentration of that with the coronavirus. And now we're going to talk about some of the other things, which is Mars conjunct Pluto. Okay, Mars is the soldier,
Right.
right? Mars is assertive. Mars can be aggressive.
It's our physicality.
Yes, the body, right.
It's the body.
Mars likes to fight. Mars is what you're passionate about. Mars does not back down.
It's very masculine energy.
Masculine energy. Other words for Mars typically described as the Marine because they want to be the leader. They want to be the first one out of the gate.
It's always the very forward, aggressive, first energy. It's tied to the sign of Aries, which is the first sign in the zodiac, and it's also tied to the sign of Scorpio. So it often has to do with hidden power, the unseen, the
Where
difficult,
Scorpio gets that fight.
yeah, it's where Scorpio definitely gets that fight, that hidden stinger that when you're not expecting it, they'll come out and they'll be like, ugh, and they'll get you. So it has to do with all of those things. And it can also be very affecting to our health.
Yeah, understanding where Mars is in your chart, even the transiting Mars, understanding where it is and if it's receiving any squares, if it's receiving any trines, this has everything to do with how you're going to physically feel, whether you're strong, whether you're a little bit tired and weak or assertive. But this is basically all this Capricorn energy because we've got this megastellium still in Capricorn. Now, Mars actually lands and gets really close with the planet Jupiter. And Jupiter is quite expansive. It typically adds to things that it touches.
Jupiter is a gas giant. It's the largest planet in our solar system. Jupiter can also have a tendency to sometimes, depending on how it's aspected or depending on how it's placed within your chart, it can sometimes promise more than it delivers.
Yeah, because people label it as a benefic, meaning if it's coming around, it's going to bring you abundance and prosperity. So,
And a lot of luck and all these other things. And that does not necessarily always happen. It's not always that benefic. Sometimes it only brings you a little bit of ease.
I'll take it. I'll take some ease.
Right now, I think we would all take a little bit of ease.
So that brings us to what happens when Mars and Jupiter come together. Okay, now typically if you were to look it up in a book, right, Mars conjunct Jupiter, the words good luck, action that is positive, timing that's just right, positive action, productive action, because Jupiter adds to Mars. And Mars is, let's not forget about the ego. Mars also is our ego.
Yeah, Mars
And-
is definitely about how we project ourselves to the outside world, how we feel about ourselves. And so sometimes our egos can get a little bit too expansive, especially with Mars conjunct Jupiter. We're going to be like,
Right, so Mars will expand upon Jupiter energy, or I'm sorry, Jupiter will expand upon Mars energy. Okay, so now this is occurring. It begins like 17th of March, but you're still going to feel it the 18th, the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd. They're still going to be together. Okay, and the biggest concentration of that energy will likely start on the 18th because it's within a 2-degree orb. It's like we're looking at 20 degrees Capricorn. So if you've got your chart in front of you, check it out and see, do you have planets there? You also want to see if you have any planets squaring 20 degrees Capricorn, which would be 20 degrees of Libra or 20 degrees on the other side of Aries. And that's a big T-square if you have them at both ends. That means definite testing and stress.
and real major difficulties
Yeah.
if you have a T-square.
Yeah.
There's still going to be a lot of difficulty if you just have a square, if you just have it on one side.
Yep.
And it also is going to depend on what the planets are. So if it's a square with, say, Venus, Venus is such a benefic planet, it's such a positive planet that a square to Venus is not going to be super negative. But if it's a square with Pluto, that's going to be really negative.
And if you don't know, if you need help figuring that out, just comment your birth digits down below and we'll hook you up. If you're new here, same thing. Comment your birth digits. We can get information to you and help you to understand your own chart. Because by doing that, you understand the frequencies and the energies and the cycles of these things, and you have advanced notice. We're going to eventually come out with a video which is expanding upon the Zodiac Starter Pack that includes watching videos that we've created, which is helping viewers to learn astrology for the purpose of learning how to read and look at your own chart so that you could understand these things for yourself, making you independent. You don't have to be relying upon us or anybody else to tell you about events that are going to be coming up in your life. The chart that we put in there was very relevant. We created the chart, it'll be almost a year ago that we created the Zodiac Starter Pack, actually, believe it or not, because we're already in March.
Wow.
But there were things happening in the world that were going to be very relevant and we're going to be needed to be talked about. And so what we're going to do in some coming videos is we're going to expand upon that chart. We're going to reveal the identity of the chart, the person, the event that chart belongs to, and it'll be relevant in each and every one of our lives. But for those who own the Zodiac Starter Pack, they're going to basically be in a really good spot because they've got access to the chart and they are able to then follow along, which will help them to unravel their own chart when they see how this chart ends up being unraveled.
Yep.
Explicated, however you want to look at it.
Really interesting.
It is interesting. And the whole point of all of this is it explains the deep transformations that we're going through globally. Okay? And so that then takes us into the next part of this video, which is we're going to actually dip into someone's chart here. And it's a Taurus ascendant, Taurus rising.
And the birth date for this is September 8th, 1960, 8:54 p.m. Huntingburg, Indiana. We've just come out of a Mercury retrograde, and this has passed back and forth over top of your natal Chiron.
Yep.
3 times.
Yes.
During this retrograde.
So let's dive into that natal Chiron a little bit. Okay, obviously Chiron, if you don't know, well, you're going to find out right now. It's about your deepest emotional wound. Okay, and Chiron, your Chiron is in Aquarian energy. Aquarian energy is about, it's group energy. Okay, it's the people, it's humanity on a really big scale. On a smaller scale, group energy could be, well, when you went to school, right? That would be group energy. Your family, if you had a big family like me, Aquarius, yeah, group energy, right? Your church, anywhere where you gather with other folks, where you're like-minded, you have something in common.
Right. For me, growing up, it would have been my Girl Scout troop.
That too, yeah. Your Girl Scout troop, right? You, especially for you, because your Aquarian energy was in your 5th house.
Yeah.
And that was the house of having fun, having a good time. Now for you, Taurus Ascendant, Taurus Rising, this particular Ascendant, I didn't give you guys the degree. This person is a Taurus Ascendant at 129. And they are also a Taurus Moon at 216.
And a Virgo Sun at 16 degrees in the house of Virgo.
So if you're listening and you're not a Taurus Rising, you can listen for the Moon or for the matching Sun. If you have a matching Sun or a matching Sun, you're going to hear some things that are going on in this chart. They're going to be relevant to you because anytime a square or something super beneficial happens for the Sun or the Moon or the Ascendant, we're going to mention it for this person in their chart, and which would be relevant to you if your degrees match the degrees we mention here.
Right.
Okay. So getting back to the Chiron and Aquarius energy, Aquarius, because it's about the group, there is a wound about standing out within the group. Because the goal is, with that with the Chiron there's something about being in that group. It's easier to kind of just disappear in the group.
Right.
It's more comfortable to just disappear in the group. Because Chiron being there means, but you need to stand out in the group, and that causes a great discomfort. So typically these Chiron energies are either past life energies or things that happened when we were children. But it's being your unique, creative, individual self, being able to be comfortable in your skin so that you can operate in the group, but yet stand out in the group. Yeah, right? And that's where the uncomfortableness comes in, the standing out within the group, the attention that brings along with it. So Mercury retrograded, right? Touched on it 3 times now.
Yeah, it went over it, it retrograded backwards over top of it, and then it just went over top of it again, moving forward.
Mercury activates your thinking, your speaking, your ability to communicate. Mercury is also like short distance journeys and traveling.
So you've probably been thinking about how you operate when you're within a group of people. You've probably been thinking about, oh gosh, I have to go to this group event. I really don't want to do it. If that was coming up for you, well, now you don't have to do it because everybody's going on lockdown.
So, that's true. Yes, so, everybody is going on lockdown. So, right, you might be at a time where you're like, whoo, I'm in my happy place.
Yeah, but this is something that you need to really look at diving deep into healing, because this is something that you need to heal within this lifetime. Keep that in mind as you're moving forward over the course of the rest of your life.
Well, a big part of this chart for this person is going to help that, because there's a lot of emphasis on doing your own thing. There's a lot of emphasis on discovering your unique creative self.
Being an individual.
Yeah.
And standing out as an individual within the crowd.
Yeah, being the inventor. Really, because Uranus energy, when we talk about Uranus energy, it is energy that is all about advancements for humanity. Okay, so being that person who creates something nobody else has thought of, which would definitely make you stand out.
Right.
Right, and you've got it at 2859. It's a critical degree, actually. So when we come upon these very interesting times we're in, this is an opportunity. This is how great inventions happen. Very shortly, we're going to have Saturn transiting into the sign of Aquarius. That will happen this month, like on the 22nd of March, actually. And it's Saturn going there and lighting up the Aquarian energy. Saturn typically is adding rules to some of these things, but at the same time, it will be adding order to all of the craziness, all the speed of communication and information.
It will help to set up parameters for how to get it done.
Aquarius is a sign of a genius. And when Mercury's in Aquarius, we have super great ideas. It's like we're connecting with the mind of God. People call it the cosmic consciousness coming through. So having your Chiron there and having Mercury, having touched it 3 times, very, very recently. Like literally, Mercury's almost at a half of a degree of Pisces right now. Okay, so you've been experiencing this all through the Mercury retrograde, and this one it's fantastic because we are in fantastic times. You know, and I say fantastic times. It doesn't have to necessarily be. It's a great major party we're having, but it is. These are extraordinary times, are they not?
They're extraordinary.
They are extraordinary.
They're extraordinary.
They definitely are. So I would love to see something amazing that comes out of this energy for your Chiron in Aries. What is this invention going to be that this person's going to come up with? Is this person going to be brave enough
To step out of the box.
Right. Unique enough to look very different, right? Which means you don't mix in with the fold. You just
Take a leap.
you're the white colored crayon in the box that people look at and they're like, well, nobody uses the white colored crayon. No, but you know how to use the white colored crayon. You are the white colored crayon.
I loved the white crayon.
That makes a lot of sense. Totally does. It totally makes a lot of sense.
I was usually gone at the end of the year.
There you go. There you go. That makes so much sense. Okay, so now we got another date that we have here for you.
Okay.
The month of March.
There's a new moon on March 24th. And new moons are a great time for setting new intentions. A lot of things that are going to be happening.
It's in your 12th house, so it's kind of hidden, right?
Yeah.
It's things about yourself, thoughts about
Yeah.
yourself, the way you think about yourself. When we dive into your new moon, and I'm only just kind of speaking up here because I kind of used this chart in one of the new moon videos already. So this is kind of a recap, but
Okay.
it's basically
We'll go for it.
It basically comes down to there is this sensitivity. We pay attention because it's the moon, and we look at the moon, and where's the moon in your chart, right? Well, it rules your sign of Cancer. It's all about this sensitivity and your ability to speak, your ability to think, and how you feel about that. You think you're not the greatest speaker. You have hidden mental issues, mental thoughts about yourself and how it is that you communicate. You don't think, that people would listen to you, that they would find you very interesting, and so this is something. Whether you're super aware of it or not, this is what the chart shows. And so the new moon intention for you is to simply wish, with a focus of recognizing that you have a lot of worthy things. You're an intelligent person. You have things to say that are worthwhile that people do want to hear.
You're extremely articulate. You're extremely educated. You understand things way better than you give yourself credit for.
Yes.
Stop
You know how to connect
Stop
everything.
thinking that everybody else knows more than you do. You know more than you think you do.
Yes, you definitely
Start
do.
giving yourself credit for everything that you know, because you know a hell of a lot more than you think you do. And you know a hell of a lot more than other people do.
Yes, this is true. And having that new moon there in that 12th house, don't forget about the 12th house. The 12th house, because it's Aries there, so it's your body, your physical body as well. Thoughts about your physical body as well are
Yeah.
involved in this.
Yeah.
And, maybe thinking I have to look a certain way, right?
Which you don't.
It's about getting beyond the physical. It's Aries energy. So it's about cultivating the Aries energy, which is developing it to encompass more thinking and to appreciate things that are way beyond the physical. Once you do that, because the whole theme of this chart, this reading, that when we've looked at everything, it's about individuation for you.
This year in particular
Yeah.
is really about you learning to appreciate you for you, learning to appreciate the value that you bring to the table, learning to realize how much value that you have as an individual, learning to appreciate that you bring so much more than you realize, or that other people realize, or that other people even give you credit for, because you downplay it so much. And it's really important for you to give yourself credit so that other people give you credit. And not in a braggadocio kind of way, not in a really ego-driven kind of way, but just in a real factual kind of way. You're a Virgo. You're all about fact. You've got the Virgo sun in the house of Virgo. Come on. You can do this. We know that you can do this. And you've got that Capricorn energy up there in the house of Capricorn, but you've also got it in that 9th house, which is about your beliefs. And so you're real practical about what you believe. You're real practical and real down to earth about what you believe to be true. Give yourself credit and be practical about giving yourself credit for what you believe about yourself. You have to start to do that.
All right, so this is what your new moon intention is all about. All right, use it wisely. It's the 24th of the month, and the recommendation is either later in the day on the 24th or early in the morning hours of the 25th, just waiting for the moon to get a little bit deeper into the Aryan energy because of the Chiron that will be conjunct this new moon energy, actually.
Once we get to April, what we've really got, the beginning of April, is we've got Mars and Saturn. They are going to be sitting on top of each other.
Yeah, the people in general are going to start feeling this the 27th, the 28th, and the 29th of March.
Yeah.
So be aware of this. You're going to want to know where this is going on. Again, it's all in Capricorn energy, folks. And so this is just understanding that there's going to be frustrations. It's going to be, you know, for all of us, it is Saturn. And Saturn is about,
really
these are the rules. And we're all hearing a lot of new rules now, aren't we?
Oh my gosh, we've
Lots
all
of
got so many
new
rules,
right? New rules we're doing.
Put on us. Things that we all have to take into consideration, we all have to abide by. All these constraints that are being put on us that we're not used to having. And so many people that are saying, I don't want to live by the rules. This is ridiculous. This is America. I shouldn't have to do this. Well, guess what? If you don't do it, you're not just putting yourself in danger. You're putting every single person that you come into contact with in danger. And so
all you got to do is remember, it's astrology. And what does Saturn ask you to do? It tells you these are the rules. And if you follow the rules, you get rewarded. That's how Saturn works astrologically throughout since the beginning of studying it. So it makes no sense to try to work against that. It's just you defeat your own purpose.
And it's going into Aquarius, which is humanity. So we have to follow the rules for the sake of humanity.
Agreed. Now, for your chart, for this person's chart, this 129 Taurus ascendant, this is all still in your 10th house. You have about 12 degrees, 13 degrees of Aquarian energy in your 10th house. Yep. So you're having a sign change, but you're not having a house change.
Right.
Okay. It's all still in the 10th, which is all about your highest goals, your ambitions in this world. What is it at the end of your day? I just want this. I just want to be able to succeed at this. That's what that is. But when it moves into Aquarius, a lot of the energy that we had in Capricorn is no longer going to be there. You know, in this year of 2020, we're going to have Pluto there and we're going to have Jupiter there. But all these other players are going to be moving on, even though Saturn does retrograde back, and we'll get into that later in your reading.
Right.
But what's going to happen is there's this morphing. There's this morphing of you as an individual, because for all of us, wherever Aquarian energy is, something's going to be changing. So for you, I would expect to have a surprise, because it's Aquarius, which is Uranus, which is surprise, having a surprise occur, some sort of a change in your goals. Not extreme to the degree of, it's just something where you're like, you come up with this great idea.
Yeah, there's going to be a shift.
Something. Yeah.
There's going to be a shift. There's going to be a shift in your approach. There's going to be a shift in the way you look at things. There's going to be this subtle shift that's going to happen that's going to allow you to change the way you look at and handle how you're doing business.
Yeah, and the thing that's wonderful that I love about this chart is that this person has Sirius in the
11th.
In the sign of Aquarius.
Yeah.
Well, when I see Sirius in Aquarius, to me it's like, you know, Jesus feeding all the people, because it's Aquarian energy is the people, right? And Sirius is the bread, passing out the bread. Like, you know, he had 2 loaves, and all of a sudden there was enough bread to feed everybody, and it's like, whoa, it's crazy. So for you, you know, this is your chart, and Aquarian energy is you feeding the people. You know, so I love this. This new inventive thing still involves Sirius, still involves the food, still involves the public, still involves the people and humanity. So now let's move on to the stress and the tension. I know I just glossed over it really quickly, but because of the new rules, it is frustrating as well. We are all going to be frustrated. Somebody said something, I was listening or watching or reading something, and they said, this energy feels like we're banging our head up against the wall.
Well, the reason why it feels that way is that it creates a T-square. And a T-square is always going to feel like you're banging your head against the wall. And it creates it with the moon and on your ascendant and on your descendant, your rising sign. So this is going to be a little difficult. So your outside world, the way you present yourself to the outside world, which is where your moon is sitting, and then your descendant, which is your relationships.
It's where you relate one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
It's the descendant energy.
Those energies
are being tested.
Are going to be tested with this energy.
Stressed.
And that's where the stress is going to come in.
So this is a stress on you personally. So this could be on your body, because it is your ascendant, and that is your body. So in other words, during these times, because this does happen more than once, I'm sorry to say this, but for you, but it does, because Saturn does go retrograde. And so when it squares up your ascendant, Taurus represents your endurance as well. So it could have you could feel you don't have as much energy throughout the day during this time period. All right.
Luckily, it's not going to, only once is it going to have the added stress of Mars with it.
Which is good.
So,
which is right now.
Yeah.
Because Mars goes direct and stays direct.
Right.
It won't be there. It'll just be Saturn squaring that ascendant and squaring your descendant. So remember, this is stress and frustration with yourself, but you also have your moon there, so your emotions might get involved. Definitely, I would say, because of the fact that it also squares your descendant, which is your significant one-on-one relationships. And these are committed, I don't know if I want to say committed, but relationships where you are energetically bonded.
So on April 8th, we have a full moon that's going to be happening. And so there's going to be some really serious tension. That's a couple of really difficult energies going on. In addition to the Saturn, which is a difficult, constraining energy with your ascendant, descendant.
So your significant one-on-one relationships and yourself.
Yeah.
The full moon brings additional stress because it's the full moon itself stressing significant one-on-one relationships.
Full moon energy, you've got the sun on one end, you've got the moon on the other end, and this is exactly squaring your midheaven and the IC.
You want my lighter now?
No. You can keep your lighter. You've got this, what we call a great square. So you've got the sun and the moon, the midheaven, and the IC creating this great square. Luckily, this doesn't last real long because it is a full moon and the moon does move quickly, but we all know how difficult full moons can be.
What people, what buckets are we talking about, right? It's your significant one-on-one relationships. It's family, it's home, it's your goals and your ambitions and business, career, possibly government stuff because it's Capricorn. We're looking at your midheaven at 18 degrees, it's in Capricorn. Your IC down below is your home. You have Cancer there, right? That's family, that's mom issues, that's also
emotion.
Yeah, emotions. And it happens on the cusp, well, the IC is the cusp of the fourth house. So that is about the house, the home, right? And your inner emotional world, but it can be your physical world too in the home. But then the big T square is, it involves your significant one-on-ones. All right, so whoever you put into those buckets, these are the people that are going to be involved.
Yeah, and what's there is the moon. So again, this is going to be your emotion.
Yeah, it's emotions squaring emotions.
Yeah.
And there's going to be something that's said because when we follow, your emotions, it's going to be over something that you value, right? Because we look at your moon and your moon is in Taurus. And what is Taurus? What I value, my resources, my values. And don't forget, yourself as a human being is part of that. How you see yourself.
And at this
and
time,
love yourself.
The sun is going to be in the 12th house, which is things that are deep and hidden.
Yep.
And you may not be real aware of it in the moment. And this is really going to be a time of testing your relationships with others. So this is going to be really testing those demands of your work and your personal life. This could force you to reevaluate some of those relationships on which ones that you think are important and which ones you want to keep. And you need to be very conscious about which relationships are the most important to you and which ones you want to leave behind. You got to be really sure about which relationships that you think you need to start to leave behind in your life.
I'm hearing the word essential screaming. It's been screaming all damn day, and it's screaming back in again for this because we are in a time. We're recording this. It's the 17th of March, and date stamping it because we all understand the craziness that's going on in the world right now.
Right.
And this is lining up with all of the other stuff, which is we are all having to figure out what is essential, what do I really need. And in terms of people and relationships, it's the same thing.
Right. And this is going to be really vitally important because at this time, Venus, which is all about what we value, goes out of bounds at the same time. And so it's all about those relationships. And you've got Taurus in the first house. Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so this is really for you. This is about you valuing yourself. And this is about you seeing that value in yourself and putting more emphasis in that value on yourself. By the time Venus actually is no longer out of bounds, because it's going to be out of bounds for 2 months. Out of bounds Venus is April 3rd to June 2nd.
Yeah, so we're going to have 2 months of Venus going extreme. And go over the Venus words. First of all, relationships, right? Significant relationships. Your values, what you love, who you love. Your resources.
It's also your resources, your money.
Things being beautiful. Venus is all about art as well. This is important. Creating stuff.
How you see beauty, where you see beauty, being able to see beauty in things that you wouldn't normally see it.
Ooh, that might include yourself. I'm just saying. This is kind of a theme, a big part of this chart because it ties into that Chiron up there. You know, embracing your individual self and loving that.
And by the time Venus is no longer out of bounds, it's actually going to be in your first house. So this is really interesting. This is phenomenal. This is so beautiful. By the time Venus actually goes back inbounds, Venus is actually going to be in your second, well through half of your second house, which is ruled by Taurus. So it's how you think about how you value yourself because you have Gemini there. So
Venus retrograding through that house while she's out of bounds means events will occur in your life without a doubt. Something's going to occur. I mean, it's like we kind of all already feel this. Our values, what we value, right, or what we thought we valued is we're reanalyzing it. We are rethinking all of that. We are reprioritizing it, reevaluating it, as you said. And the out of bounds and her then going retrograde. Retrograde's all about I'm internalizing this now.
Yeah, it's going internally.
It's really
and
like the universe is assisting you to help you evaluate how you value yourself. Seriously, you have a lot of these spots in your chart. So as hard as all that other stuff that we were talking about, out of all the charts we look at, you have unbelievable support from the universe. You have the overall theme of your chart is it's things always seem to fall into place. And when they don't, they don't. But they're not often when they don't fall into place. Therefore, I call it a setup.
Yeah, because
it's kind of like being blindsided.
When they don't work out for you, it's really difficult because you're not used to it.
Right, yeah. It usually just, you might have to do a little something here and there, right?
Yeah, but when they really fall apart, you probably completely fall apart because people who have that sort of ease built in, they're not used to things like completely collapsing, and they don't always handle it in the best way because they're not used to it.
Yeah. It's like the one who's first time out talking to people and somebody says something that's not so sweet. And because their skin is so thin, it really hurts them. Whereas someone who has developed a thick skin, they can kind of take the punches, not just words, but the punches. And so anyways, just so that you understand this, like there's this overall theme in your chart where this has been significant. Not to say that you haven't had your trials.
We've all had
Yeah.
trials.
But just knowing that might help to understand why when it feels hard, it feels so hard.
Yeah.
It's because of that. So the bottom line with that energy, we're already done with it then? With the Saturn
there's a few other things that are going to be going on
Okay.
right around the time of this new moon that are actually going to, while those difficulties are going on, you've also got some things that are going to add some ease to it.
Sweet.
Because you always do. It's amazing to me. Every time we find something difficult, it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's something that makes it easier. You're also going to be having, at the exact same time, the moon is also going to be trining Mars, and it's going to be sextiling Jupiter. This is also going to be a good time to be out. Well, believe it or not, well,
Did you
it's
give a
not
date
going to
on
be a
that?
good time.
So
This is April 8th.
Oh, it is all April 8th. Okay.
Yeah, under normal circumstances, this would be a good time to be out with people. Necessarily the best of circumstances to be out with people right now, but
You can,
but there are ways,
small, short, right.
short ways to be with, a couple people here and there. Connect with people.
Internet,
Just be careful.
Skype.
Because
there's a lot of ways.
communication could get a little sloppy, could be a little touchy or a little irritable. Just pick your words wisely. Don't over-identify with your ego. There could be a little combative energy, a little conflict energy. So just be aware of that. Because you're going to be coming into a time where you have a real sense of a feeling of need for change coming up in your life. You really, really need to, and this is going to be really strong, April 10th through the 12th, those 3 days. You're going to have this need to pay attention to your dreams and how you value those dreams and how you value yourself within those dreams. Your dreams and your aspirations are going to become huge in April, and how you want to implement those. So pay attention to that, and you may actually have some literal dreams as to what that looks like. So if you have an active dream life during the beginning of April, write those down, because you may find that that's helpful for you to manifest what it is that you want your life to look like moving forward. Okay.
So good news is like April 11th, we have Mercury hitting Aries, which is spectacular because prior to that, from this point on, prior to that, where are we at? 17th of March? Until April 11th, Mercury's in Pisces. And so communications are slowed down, short distance journeys are slowed and muddied, and Mercury does not like being in the Piscean waters.
Commerce is completely slow.
Yes, everything is slow. So for you, keep this in mind. This is the energy of the time. This is going to be a downtime unless you can find. You have support as you always seem to have, like we've said multiple times already. So there might be areas in where you are getting little work here and there. Small things. One of the other things that we saw too was the coming of different business opportunities, like extensions, little branches growing off from what you already do. So don't look for anything like that to occur necessarily until this time, April 11th. Is when Mercury gets into Aries, and then
it's
Mercury
really
changes.
going to kick in.
Yeah, Mercury moves fast in Aries. Aries is impulsive.
Yeah.
So you want to think things through first.
Yeah.
Don't let, the first thing that comes to mind, just take off on it.
So, moving to the end of April, April 22nd, 23rd, we have a new moon at 3 degrees of Taurus. So this is interesting because this is happening right on your ascendant, right on your rising sign and your moon, which is right there. They're going to be conjunct. This new moon is going to be conjunct that, and this is a time for making changes of things that aren't working for you. This allows you to see what is wrong, that you feel is wrong in your life, that is not fulfilling what you need for yourself, that is not fulfilling what you value for yourself. So this time that Venus is out of bounds, and Venus is, where is Venus at this time?
Venus is roughly about 15 and a half,
Yeah, Venus
14,
is at
15 degrees.
Yeah, so Venus
In Gemini,
in
for those who are
Gemini
listening.
in the second house, well, in your second house, but it's in Gemini right now, and at this time. And so this is really about you figuring out, wait a minute, I'm not getting everything that I need from the relationships that I have in my life. I need to reevaluate what it is that I want for me. I need to look at what it is that I want, what I deserve, what I'm worth, what I bring to the table. Do you see a theme here?
Yeah, we're not trying to be repetitive, but every transit that we're bringing up, it's bringing up the same theme. It's a repetitive theme. So, in other words, you will naturally be going through this process. You will naturally have this conscious raising experience where it's like, wow,
We're
like,
really
I do have a lot to
hoping-
offer. You
We're
know?
really hoping that you will see in you what we know is in you. You will begin to see that in yourself, because you bring a lot to the table, and you bring a lot more than what you give yourself credit for.
Now, at this time, on this date, okay, so we've got Mars in Aquarius at 15 and a half degrees.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Venus on April 22nd, this is, at 14 and a half degrees in Gemini.
Excuse me.
And so they're trining. And this is a time when masculine and feminine energies get together. And Mars being in Aquarius energy, Mars is going to be moving very fast when it goes into Aquarius energy. Mars is quick action because Mars is already kind of like, let's do this already, impatient. But when it mingles literally in that Aquarian air, it's fast action, lightning fast thoughts. And when we have lightning fast thoughts, we're going to want to just act immediately on them. So you could get some really great downloads of ideas at this time, but you would probably want to just, don't be extremely impulsive. Don't let Mars push you, is the message. Because Mars has a tendency to be super assertive. And you just want to, protect yourself from Mars pushing you too hard. Okay, but there will be some compatibility that you experience in an easy way because of that trine. It happens in your 11th house of friendships and in your second house of what you value, Gemini, communication, talking. Siblings are also going to be probably part of this. You might even find there's a sibling you're talking to that you might not have been talking to before. And it could just be a really quick conversation. It doesn't have to be something long and drawn out, but something more than what existed before.
Could be just as much. It could be just as simple as walking by and saying, "Hi, how are you?"
Yeah, because it's the sign of Gemini, not just representing siblings, but neighbors as well, right?
Yeah.
Neighbors, people in your community, it's people in your immediate environment. So if you're at a job, it's coworkers. All right, so that's, like I said, around the 22nd of April, which is nice. At this time, also, there's this little uncomfortableness that happens with you because Venus, it's funny, you've got Mars and Venus doing a beautiful trine, but for you have your sun at 16 degrees in Virgo, and that means as Venus in Gemini, right, those are two mutable signs, they're going to be squaring. So even though there's going to be this ease, right, talking, communicating, relating, there's something about it that's going to feel draining on you.
Yeah.
Because your sun is in
Uncomfortable.
Virgo at 16 degrees. So it'll cause stress and tension to your vitality, and it's pointing to, well, your health might be
probably
affected
just-
at this time.
It might just kind of, the thought of it or doing it just kind of might make you feel a little drained, might make you feel a little nauseous. It's like, ugh.
So you want to be careful. It's Virgo, so obviously digestive issues. Anytime you hear us say Virgo, right? That's all that happens with Virgo energy.
It's one of those things, being a Virgo and having a lot of Virgo energy, it's one of those things that sometimes when I think about having to deal with certain people, or when I have just had to have interaction with people that I don't necessarily feel comfortable with, I'll actually come home and I'll actually feel nauseous. I'll feel sick to my stomach. Or I'll end up having gastric distress. And that's all that Virgo energy. It literally makes me sick to my stomach.
All right, so this is around the 22nd of April, a day or two before, a day or two after. You would just want to be aware and be sensitive for your bodily needs at that time, and that includes getting sleep.
We have a full moon on May 7th at 17 degrees of Scorpio.
Okay,
The moon will be at 17 degrees of Scorpio. The sun will be at 17 degrees of Taurus. This is known as the Wesak full moon.
We're going to have just
Excuse
had
me.
Mercury right on top of the sun a few days before this.
And at this point, Mercury is now going out of bounds.
Wow, I love this. This is in your first house, and this could definitely be an aha moment of self-value and how I think about myself.
Yeah.
It's Mercury on top of the sun
Right.
in the sign of Taurus. I'm looking at May 7th, so
And
actually...
this will be training your sun. So this is really about adding energy and vitality to
Yeah,
your
it's
sun and
beautiful.
about really positive energy for your sun and for who you are.
May
Yay!
7th, May 8th, May 9th, right?
Yep.
10th, 11th, that little window of time in there. You're going to have some moments where you get clarity on you and what your values and basically how you are worthy.
Yep.
Okay?
The other thing that's going to be going on is there's going to be a sextile between the North Node.
Transiting nodes,
Though the nodes are going to be transiting at this time, actually.
and that means they're
It's
going
not
to
a
be,
sextile.
what do we have? It's
The node
entering
is going to be
Gemini.
entering Gemini.
This is a big deal for everybody, which means you're looking at 29 degrees of Gemini and 29 degrees of Sagittarius. This is
Huge.
a world axis point.
It's also an
AXIS.
yeah,
I say X anyway.
yeah. It sounds like it's the emphasis.
Yes, let's move on.
So the nodes are moving. They're going to be on the world axis, and they're moving into Gemini. So it's an energetic shift, and they've been in Capricorn and Cancer for what seemed like forever. And so instead of it being on home and on work,
Yeah,
we're moving into communication and
I agree.
what we believe
Yeah, so
and what we believe in. So
and how we travel too. Isn't that
and how
interesting?
yeah.
Because of what's going
And
on
how-
right now.
and how far we travel.
Right, because it's Gemini and Sagittarius energy we're talking about.
Right,
So
because
the nodes,
Gemini is close travel.
right,
And
right around the neighborhood,
Sagittarius
short little trips,
is global
get in the plane,
travel.
get on a ship,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right, foreign lands. That's that ninth house stuff. That's the Sagittarian energy. So the nodes going through there, our business, our commerce, our communication, our thinking. That's
It's
the Gemini
education.
stuff, right? Education. I know, right? Everything that we're experiencing right now. This is
Mm-hmm.
the theme of 2020 for all the stuff that this whole lockdown thing we're all under. It's like, folks, this is the theme of 2020. We wanted clarity, and this is
Mm-hmm.
it. Because now that is creating all of these other things that we're dealing with in a very different way,
Right.
right? Because, well, we can't do the other things we were used to doing, and now we're just, it's like we're in new waters.
Yeah.
So the thinking, the communication, the speaking, our siblings, our neighbors, we're going to look at them differently after we get through this experience.
It's all
And the
gonna
same
be
as
very
foreigners, right?
Yeah.
And long distance journeys and travels, and therefore our beliefs changes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the nodes change a lot. It goes from Cancer, which is home and emotions, to now we're thinking. We've raised the energy from here to here. It's going to the head now.
Right. Yeah, and hopefully we will get out of that gut reaction kind of thing and really get into our thought processes and really change how we believe we should be treating each other. Eventually, and it's not going to take very long, that's moving into Gemini, but that's eventually going to move from your third house into your second house. So that's going to be significant because that's going to alter how you how you look at what you value.
Right, that's right. It begins in your third house. That's right, because you've got like 4 degrees of Gemini in your third house, and
Right.
then because the nodes move backwards, right? That's
Right.
This could be confusing.
Right.
The nodes move backwards, so it's going like this, and then it slips into your second house. Wow, so it's definitely values of self that'll be super emphasized now,
Right.
right?
So that's pretty significant.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Well, I'm actually on May 11th because you had something written down about stress, group energy. There's going to be stresses and tension. And so I just kind of wanted to make sure.
Yeah,
I was
do.
just double checking. But it says that it's the moon, it's fast, but it involves Cirrus, which is food, grain, bread, right? So this would be important to know. And
this is
what is
true.
this? She's got glyphs written down. It's her handwriting.
That's
so
a
it's-
sun.
Okay, see, she stalled. All right, so then you've got the moon and the sun stressing. And anyway, it's your group energy. It's where your Aquarian stuff is at.
Those are the houses.
Okay, so your house number is 1, 7, 11. So that's myself, that's significant relationships, and groups, friends, social circles.
It's a T square with
Cirrus. Yeah, T square with Cirrus, grain. Okay, so you'd want to know about that. That's just being prepared and understanding. Okay, there's stress and tension, which means I got to work longer and harder at something. You got to take more steps to get something accomplished. You have to have more patience.
Right.
You have to be more diligent. That's what those mean, and they
And-
create wonderful attributes.
You might have to knead some bread longer.
Yeah. A lot of the stresses we're experiencing in 2020.
I know this might sound really funny, but sometimes some of these things are very literal.
Yeah, labor-intensive duties are required in some of these things. Yeah.
Sometimes these things are literal. I mean, it's Cirrus. Cirrus is grains.
Yes.
There's stress and tension because it's a full moon. You might literally find that during this full moon time of May 7th that your bread isn't rising properly, and you might have to let it sit longer, or you might have to knead the bread longer.
Well,
or
here's
you might
something I
have
didn't want to mention, but I will because it's in your reading. There may be an issue with being able to obtain grain if you have deadlines to meet. So there might be that. This makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
It could be that literal.
Yes.
Sometimes it is that simple and that literal.
I agree.
You could have a hard time getting a hold of
An ingredient of some sort.
The typical ingredient that you use, and you might have to substitute, or you might have to substitute a grain, or you might have to. Yeah.
I'm hoping not. I mean, because of the fact that Mercury will be in Gemini and it loves being in Gemini at this time. It rules Gemini. So I'm hoping that isn't going to be the issue for everybody, right?
Right.
In general, that we're not like, hey, we can't get stuff, you know?
But it could
because
happen.
Once Mercury moves like I mentioned earlier, in Aries, it moves fast. Once it gets to Taurus, that's great because it's thinking about our values. And well, food is one of Taurus's values. And then it moves into Gemini, and it's like,
I'm hoping
let's
it's
take
as
care of
simple
this.
as you might end up throwing out a couple batches and have to start over.
Something crazy.
Something weird like that happens.
Yeah. And this, by the way, was your natal Cirrus. You have a natal Cirrus at 1702 in Aquarius. For folks listening, it wasn't the transiting Cirrus, which, represents our grain. But at this time on May 22nd, the transiting Cirrus actually is conjunct Mars, and it's in Pisces here, which does mean there could be a slowdown, right? And there can be some confusion because the transiting Cirrus, when Pisces is involved with any of the planets, it delays things, it slows them down because of the cloudiness, because of the confusion.
It makes things very difficult to recognize.
And which means that physically, because the transiting Mars is going to be in Pisces at this time too, this is for everybody, May 22nd, Mars actually will be transiting through Pisces for... How long does it take? Because Mars is our body. When it goes through Pisces, it's the same as Neptune. Neptune's job is to dissolve the 3D. Your body is the 3D, your physical body. It's the tangible world. So when Mars goes through there, Mars is that, there may be where you find you definitely need more rest. And I would suggest to do it. And it may not even be you, but some of your friends might be experiencing this. This is in your 11th house, by the way.
Okay, so that's May 14th through June 29th.
All right, so expect things to be a little bit slower in terms of your body and how you feel. This is for all of us. We may
May
have a
14th
physical
to
slowdown.
June 29th. That's 6 weeks time period when Mars is in Pisces. Okay, so on May 22nd, there is a new moon.
Sun,
it's
right?
at 2 degrees of Gemini.
Interesting, because for this person, 2 degrees Gemini, you only have a few degrees of Gemini in your first house, the way your chart is. Tropical Plastus, by the way, for all those who are listening. So that 2 degrees, falls in your first house. But I'm going to be honest, I have a chart that's a lot like this, where I have some houses that have multiple signs, and where there's a little bit in one house. Many times it encompasses the feeling, the events of both houses. So we're going to it's going to be about yourself and your values of yourself. Another same theme running here.
You've got this combination in your first house. You've got Taurus and that little sliver of Gemini. So you've got this duality that goes on. So for this new moon, a couple of the things that you need to remember is to remain flexible, remain open, and test how others react to any new ideas that you have. Just sort of throw some new ideas out there to people in your life. Throw them out there. Sort of spitball it. See what sticks to the wall. Okay?
That makes sense. It's in Gemini, so we're thinking. But we don't really, it's not in our other house, which would be Sag, which is all about, well, this is what I believe. You're actually formulating a belief in reality. So for this new moon, the intention is, here's a great thing. It teaches people a lot about themselves when they ask others in their lives. I think I did this at one time in my life. Text people you know, just a real quick, short question. If there was like one thing you could say about me that you think I do really well or that I'm good at. And it's not that you're searching for compliments. It helps you to see from other people's perspectives, things that you may not be aware about yourself. And since this is kind of like about that, then your new moon would be about, help me to see the value, help me to see my worthiness, help me to accept myself as I am.
I think I should do that.
Yeah, I got that tip from somebody online at one time, and I thought, well, this is a good idea, because when you have Gemini energy in your second house, the second house is how we make our money. But when you have Gemini there, it makes it tricky, because Gemini is good at a lot of things, which means you could make money doing multiple different things, not just one thing. Okay, so for anybody listening, if you've got Gemini in that second house, it's not going to be tied down to one income avenue. It's, I have multiple avenues of income. And actually that's wonderful, because it's variety, all right? And that's a beautiful thing. Okay, June 5th.
15 degrees of Sagittarius. The sun will be at 15 degrees of Gemini, and the moon will be at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. And this is full moon.
Ooh, this happens on top of somebody's Juno. Okay, so Juno is Juno is all about the romantic partner, the one you're going to, be really kind of, they use the word marriage involved with Juno, commitments.
And your Juno is in your natal Juno is in your eighth house, which is bonded relationships.
Yes. Wow. Interesting. So you're going to have, this is a full moon there we're talking.
This is
okay, so here's something to be aware for everybody listening. At the time of the full moon, the planet Mars will be exactly squaring this full moon.
That's tough.
That is tough. So this means masculine energy is squaring it, which is kind of, it's going to be difficult for you. I'm going to be straight with you, because you have a big T-square. This Mars up here in Pisces at 15 degrees, 15 and a half degrees, exactly opposes it opposes your natal north node at 15 and your sun at 16. And so then you've got the moon over here at 15. Is it at 15 or 14 and a half? It's like 15. So you have a big T-square.
Yeah.
Now I'm pointing this out. When masculine energy, when Mars squares the emotions, it's squaring your beliefs, because it touches upon your freedoms. There's something about the masculine energy that's somehow restricting you during the time of the full moon. And so, because the full moon, did you say, is in Sag?
Yep.
Sag is all about my freedom to believe, right? My freedom to travel, my freedom to explore, to seek, to learn more about the world.
My freedom to have my own sets of thoughts, my own set of beliefs, my own set of way of
Religion,
being,
philosophy.
my own way of being in the world. The ninth house is really about us at the soul level being who we are.
Yeah, and it's future. I always forget to talk about that. But Sagittarius energy in general represents our future.
Yeah, because if you think about it, the symbol for Sag is the archer. It's it's pulling back the bow and pointing and setting the goal. It's looking for what is it that's out there that I really want to look at and what I really want to set my sights on.
And in depth, we've got at this time, right? This is June 5th. We've got that big T-square I mentioned. And then we've also got, because a full moon is, here's the full moon and here's the sun at the other end. Well, Venus is also joining up with the sun at this time. Venus will be connected to the sun. So when Venus is connected to the sun, all of a sudden your self-worth is highlighted. Big time. Venus is my values. Am I part of those values?
Right.
My self-worth, my worthiness. You are highlighted big time. And it's in Gemini, thinking, and it's in your second house. This, again, is another moment, another experience that shows you, look how worthy you are. Stand up for who you are. Stand up for your worthiness.
And at this exact same time, the transiting Juno is going to be conjunct your natal Venus. So, and this happens in Libra, which is about finding balance within relationships.
Folks listening, this is like Juno at 6, going to go on 7 degrees in Libran energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we look at, that's a whole lot of stuff we just gave out, a whole lot of degrees, right?
And that's going to be a trine. That's going to be a really gorgeous little trine that's going on with the. Well, it's a bit of a wonk. It's a wide trine. It's really wide, but the energy is there. The energy is trining. It's air energy, right? Gemini energy and Libra energy. That's trining.
I understand what you're looking at. This is really an emphasis on future, and there's multiple things happening. This isn't necessarily about one person. It's almost as though there's an ending with something, and all of a sudden there's an ease and something better comes along on the side simultaneously, it seems like. And this simultaneous thing is your future. That other thing is the past. Is the past. Because of the friction in that initial T-square I spoke about, it's...
the T-square that we were looking at.
It's a letting go of something.
Yeah.
A releasing. Matter of fact, that's actually this full moon here. This is an eclipse.
Yes, it is.
I'm looking at the degrees and I just realized this is a freaking eclipse. And this is a major eclipse, which is about releasing and letting go and having a sudden revelation at this moment. Holy crap. Okay. It's just hitting me like all at the same time. This revelation, you're going to be feeling it. There's going to be something that occurs, and this, whoever this masculine energy was, and that experience with them, and your history with them, you will have the revelation of, they aren't part of my future.
Right. Yeah. This is huge. This is huge.
All right.
Huge. Okay. This is the 11th, and there's
is this June 11th?
Yeah, June 11th.
June 11th.
And there's a lot that's going on for you through the 22nd. June is massive for you. You're going through a lot of changes.
Oh my God. I'm like still, my head is still going with the fact that you had the eclipse on your natal Juno. Anyway, this is huge. My brain is still like absorbing it all.
Yeah.
I'm still experiencing the energy. This is going to be a major turning point for your future.
Yeah.
As far as relationships. Okay. I'm calmed down now.
You've got Mr. Toad's Wild Ride in June.
All right, explain that in astrology terms. Give us degrees and dates so people who are listening can understand, because I'm lost now. So we're on June 11th, and let me find out what's going on here. We've got Saturn that's, Saturn is doing some interesting stuff by now because it's in Aquarius, but it's retrograding.
Mars conjunct Neptune in Pisces.
Yeah, actions will really be slowed down, and it'll be confusing action and physical as far as people being sick and people feeling ill. This will be a time, honestly, when we're probably going to be hearing of more things happening in general. Just because of everything that's going on. There'll be more illnesses that come up at this time, likely. I'm not saying this for you in your particular chart. I'm not.
Just the public in general.
Yeah, this squares, by the way, just so you know, this would square your house of what you value. And actually, it's your Gemini energy that it squares in your Sagittarius. So your thinking and your beliefs. So it squares what you value. It squares your capabilities in terms of that. So siblings is highlighted here as being squared because it's Gemini energy, but it is neighbors as well.
Yeah, the reason why this is a big concern in general for everybody is because Jupiter and Pluto are crisscrossing paths, and Jupiter energy is expansion and Pluto energy is
deep transformation.
Deep transformation, and it's also associated oftentimes with death.
Yeah, and it's sweeping changes, which we're feeling. We are in the midst of sweeping change. We think it's temporary, but really this is bringing about global change.
It's going to bring about massive global changes to all structures because it's happening in Capricorn.
And Pluto. When Pluto changes something, it's permanently changed. So this has to do with your goals and your ambitions because it's in your 10th house. Okay, it's your goals, things you work very hard for and you are willing to work diligently for. All right.
You've got some stuff that's going on. You could feel pretty combative at this time. You couldn't get into verbal arguments. So all of this energy that you're coming off of from the eclipse, where you sort of have this revelation. Revelatory. I was going to say revelatory.
Yeah.
It could be revelatory.
Yeah.
Revelation.
Yes.
Of understanding, finally, where you finally get it and you go.
It's an emotional release, too.
You go, God.
You emotionally release something, someone.
Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
I'm worth more than this.
Yes.
You're going to finally stick up for yourself and you're going to say, this is what I need for me. And you're going to get kind of combative about it and finally stick up for yourself. And that's really a big part of what the energy is. You're going to get coming off of that eclipse at the beginning of the month. June 21st, we have a second eclipse.
How about that?
This is a new moon solar eclipse at 0 degrees of Cancer.
June 21st.
This is huge. So this is on the world axis, and this is at the beginning of this summer solstice. Right? This is on the summer solstice. This is huge.
This takes place in your 3rd house, which is your thinking and communication.
For all of us, this is a really, really important new moon.
Learning. So let's talk about why it's important and what areas of our life it affects. So if it's in Cancer at 0 degrees, right? It's a 0 degrees Cancer. Cancer is about family. It's about what we value in our family, who is part of our family. What makes up our family, and it's interesting for me in the way that I look at the moon on a global scale because the moon represents humanity, the public, people in general, and it's almost as though people will understand that we are all one and that humanity is my family, that Mother Earth is my mother, is our family, right? And so we start incorporating more things into what we would call our family. We have a greater awareness at this point.
Let's hope so. Let's hope we start treating other human beings like
human beings,
human beings instead of like the other.
Yeah.
For you, on a personal note, Venus is in retrograde at this time.
You're really internalizing your values because it's in your 2nd house.
Yep. And Mercury is also in retrograde. You have a configuration that causes you to question your sense of your own value at this point.
Chiron will be conjunct your Eris at 9:59. And well, Chiron's our deepest emotional wound. It's in Aries, and Eris is there, and Eris is like
Combative.
yeah. You know, and
Combative.
Chiron's about this wound we have about ourselves, you know, that we received when we were younger from a past life. And so there could be this stand up for myself, you know, and realize your value type of thing.
Part of your difficulty is going to be, I need to fight for myself, but do I value myself enough to fight for myself?
Yeah, and again, because that Venus is retrograding, I think in this chart, this is the theme, the universe is constantly helping you figure that out. You're already, it's like you're already getting to that point where you realize that you can stand up and that you will not accept anything less than what you're worth now.
Mercury is opposing Saturn.
Okay, so for everybody, this is a big deal. It's transiting Saturn, transiting Mercury, transiting Chiron, T-square. Not very fun. Chiron's about self. So myself being challenged by authority figures because that's Saturn. Saturn is also structures, can also be considered the government. And there can be restrictions, again, because that's what the government, well, that's what Saturn does. Saturn likes to believe it's putting things in order. And so by doing that, it's saying, okay, you have to be here, you have to be here, you have to be here. And it likes to, you know, somehow put some order amid the chaos. And that is what it's trying to do. And then when we involve Mercury in it, it messes with our thoughts with ourselves, right? We think, because Mercury now at this time is in Cancer, right?
Yeah.
Cancer is my family. Cancer is mom issues. Cancer is my emotional security. And Chiron is being squared by that. And that is squaring Chiron.
Cancer's also where you feel the most at home.
Yeah, it's your inner emotional security. So it's not just that, like that would be the abstract, right? And so where you feel most at home, it is your physical, tangible home as well, right? So there's, again, a T-square means stress and tension. And again, it's the home and then Saturn up here. And so it's opposing it, right? Saturn's here, Mercury's down here, and then you've got Chiron over here. And it's this stress and frustration and tension that will exist at this time. And it's, you know what, folks? This is not a sprint, what we're experiencing now. This is a marathon. So you pace yourself. You understand you're in this for the long haul. And just be wise. Stay in touch with everybody. Encourage people to stay true to themselves and to what's important to them. And to learn how to, again, another emphasis is what this is, another emphasis on the essentials. Understanding what do you really need. I know you don't like this movie, but I'm going to mention it. It's like what George Bailey said when all the banks were closing down. And he jumps over the counter, and his wife comes running up and hands him this pocket full of cash that was for their honeymoon. And he says, what's it going to take? What's it going to take? What's it going to take just to get you through till the banks reopen again on Monday? Now, I realize this is a little bit different, but not really.
No, it's really not.
Yeah, it's very similar. And
customers were like, well, I want all my money. And he's
right.
like, no, what do you actually need to get through?
Yes.
How much do you actually need? And people were hesitant because they wanted everything.
And a couple of people did. But the rest of the group, the majority of the group was like, well, yeah, we're in this together, right? So this is that. If you are stressed at this time, for all of us, reach out to people who you know can give you some supportive vibes, right? There's no such thing as I'm too busy anymore. I mean, seriously, right? Seriously. Of course, you're like, what the hell? I still got to teach online classes.
Actually, I'm a little more busy.
Yeah, So we'll see how that works out with the recording, and might be less videos. We'll see. Just kind of work
at least
in between.
temporarily.
Yeah, because there's going to be a lot more work being done on this end using the same tools. So
we have to
less time,
share one computer.
Even more. Yeah. I mean, I can. Yeah, anyway, that's going too far into our stuff, but.
One other thing that we want to bring up about June in particular is there's going to be Mercury retrograde.
At this time, right. There's Venus and Mercury retrograding at the same time.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a lot of big time internal thinking about family.
For you in particular, the Mercury retrograde is going to be causing some difficult squares for you. You're going to have one from June 6th through to the 12th, and then you're going to have another one June 27th through July 6th, and then the third one is going to be July 19th through July 26th.
Are those three each covering the same, squaring up with the same energies?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can now just dive into this, right?
Right.
Okay, I didn't know if we had to
So
dissect
your
each
communication is going to be tried and it's going to be tested. And this is going to be with siblings or coworkers and neighbors.
one. Which means thinking will be tried and tested, which means short journeys, because it's all this Gemini energy is what you're saying, right?
And you're going to really need to stick up for yourself, what you believe in, and that having a different opinion than your siblings, your coworkers, and your neighbors, that having a difference of opinion is okay. That there's nothing wrong with you having a different opinion than them. And that don't deny who you are, okay? And don't discount yourself. And don't discount how you think and how you believe just because it's different from them. This is going to be tough. You're going to have to really stick up for yourself during these times. July 5th, which is an eclipse at 14 degrees of Capricorn. Thankfully, you have no squares to this, but this is an important eclipse because it is in opposition and on top of your Saturn. And
Your Saturn is at 1152 in Capricorn, and the eclipse degree
is 14 degrees.
is it Capricorn or Cancer?
Capricorn.
Okay.
The moon will be in Capricorn.
Right,
The
right,
sun
right.
will be in Cancer. And your Saturn is in Capricorn. So this is going to be a deep release, a deep revelation for this eclipse.
Yeah, this is that time where there's this almost, I don't want to call it a wake up, but a revealing. There is this moment where emotionally, because of recent events, you have the awareness that, remember earlier in the reading, there were times that we talked about where it was a matter of leaving certain people behind.
Right.
And this eclipse is about that. There is this all of a sudden feeling and understanding and a deep knowing of,
Why?
oh,
That's why.
this person isn't part of my future anymore. Like, I see this really clearly here.
And there's a real deep understanding as to why.
Yeah, I would say before, because you have Saturn at 1152. And so when you have one of your own natal planets close to the eclipse point, those folks usually report in that things happen to them before
Just
the date
before,
of the eclipse.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I know yours is, the eclipse is 14 degrees.
Right.
Right?
So it's 2 degrees before the eclipse.
Yeah, it's within a 2-degree orb, and it's Saturn. So, yes, I'm pretty darn confident in saying you're going to have information that's going to help you to move forward. It's going to help you to let go of something. It has to do with your beliefs about a person, beliefs about work, beliefs about what all that looks like, structured beliefs that you've had.
Yep.
And these are beliefs that go way back, right? These are things that were built up over a long period of time.
Very deep-seated, like things that you grew up with, and you're going to be like, God, why have I been thinking that way my whole life?
Yeah. And this is a release. This is a definite letting go because it has everything to do with the transiting south node, which is all about what we're leaving behind.
Right.
And down there at the opposing side is your north node in Cancer, and that is what's part of my future going forward. And that Cancer represents your home and your family. And who fits into that bucket now?
What's going to allow you to do this is from the 7th through the 15th is you're going to have Mars in opposition to your natal Venus, and Mars is going to be in opposition to the transiting Juno. So you're also going to have the transiting Venus trining your natal Venus. All of these things are going to be setting up this situation. And the transiting Mars is going to be sextiling the transiting Venus. So Mars opposing Venus, this creates a push and pull situation. So the transiting Mars, that Mars is aggressive. It's very in your face kind of energy. It's going to be it's going to be in your 12th house, which is underlying, and that deep hidden kind of feelings and energies. And then that's going to be opposing your natal Venus, which is all about, it's in your 6th house, which is about where you work and how you live your day-to-day life, which is also has Libra there, which is all about fairness.
In relationships.
Your relationships.
Significant one-on-one relationships.
And you really have this, you have this need for fairness in your day-to-day life. And you're going to come into this realization that you don't feel like you have that sense of fairness in that one-on-one relationship situation. You're probably going to really come to this realization that, wait a minute, I don't have this feeling that I'm getting the fair, balanced relationship needs met that I want.
I can't help but just jump in really fast with, I keep hearing so loudly lack of commitment being yelled. This is what I'm hearing. This is, yeah. I
Right.
wasn't hearing that before, but today I'm hearing it loud and clearly, lack of commitment. And my eyes keep going to the Capricorn. There is a lack of commitment. And because of that, that is a defining moment.
Right. And then with the transiting Juno right there with your natal Venus, Juno is all about the female energy. And Juno in mythology, she was married to Jupiter. And she was Jupiter's wife, and she's the epitome of the female goddess. And so
she's supporting your Venus. This
she's
is your natal
supporting,
Venus. She's
yeah.
supporting. She's got your back.
And the transiting Venus is trining your natal Venus at this time. So you've got this Venus energy supporting your Venus. So you've got all of this female energy supporting your energy, saying, this masculine energy is not being supportive of me, is not giving me the fairness and the equity in my relationships that I need. And that's basically what it boils down to when you distill it down. And so that's really what we're looking at. July the 19th to the 28th, we have Mars in a T-square with an eclipse point. And whenever an eclipse point is triggered, especially by something like Mars,
which is a trigger planet.
Yeah, that's really a difficult type of thing, because Mars is also going to be on top of the transiting Chiron. Chiron being deep wounds. Chiron and Mars are going to be sitting right on top of your Eris. Eris is the planet of confrontation. Again, there's probably going to be...
Well, Eris, when we dig into Eris a little bit deeper, she's, definitely confrontation. Like, what do they consider? The sister Mars, right? The female version of Mars.
The sister to Mars.
But representation of the female energy, of the feminine, of her rights, of her ability to be recognized, ability to be acknowledged. That is who Eris is.
And with Mars sitting right on top of Eris and sitting there with Chiron, this is all going to those deep wounds in male-female relationships.
Right. And the stem of it all, the base of it all, is that stuff we talked about earlier, which goes back to things in childhood that were experienced, things from past life that were experienced, and it creates this spot that is just very sensitive. And so there's going to be communication that's going to be just hot, right? And might be like cutting words, not just specifically on this day, but days leading up. Actually, when Mercury catches up, so that will be in a matter of a few days from here. Mercury will have caught up to Mars. So we're looking at July 19th. So 19th, 20, 21, 22. Did you have like a gap, a window for this? because it's just a hot time, and it does involve.
No, I don't.
It could involve siblings. It's definitely family members. It's the sign of Cancer. We're talking about Mars squaring Cancer energy around 12 degrees of Cancer. So
Right.
an orb of 2 degrees either way. So that's 10 to 14 degrees of Cancer and Aries energy and Capricorn energy for anybody else
it
listening.
is. It's the 19th through the 28th.
Okay. So that's a nice solid week window that we gave you. And for you specifically, because it then, well, everybody has Sirius there, and then the moon's transiting, and so you just want to be aware of the communications that go on. You want to be aware of your ability to not back down, and also of your hidden ability, your hidden emotions, your hidden ego that may lash out and say something impulsively. Not that it's not okay to stand up for yourself. It is. But the whole point with all this fight energy there is to just, choose your words wisely.
Right.
As a surgeon would do, they are very meticulous with their knife.
Right.
You don't slash at everybody. You
Yeah.
only slash where it needs to be done.
Right, exactly, because this is a T-square is always going to be difficult, and this is your eras with transiting Mars and Chiron, which are both these are 3 extremely intense energies.
Opposing transiting Juno as well at this
Opposing
time.
the transiting Juno with
Yeah.
your Venus.
Which is in Libra for folks listening. Juno's like at 12 degrees. Exactly.
And then squaring the transiting Mercury and the Moon, which is highly emotionally charged speaking and communicating.
So to kind of make it all compact and neat and nice, it's yourself, it's possibly family and siblings, but maybe mother issues, but people that you put in the bucket of family, and work issues and relationships. And so you just want significant one-on-one relationships.
Right.
To put that in a nice, neat bucket. If that sounds nice and neat. All right.
That's a pretty loaded bucket.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
I do
pick
want to
up
mention July
17th.
27th to August 8th. Now what we have, Mars is going to be squaring the midheaven and the IC. And at this time, Jupiter and Pallas Athena are going to be at the midheaven. So Jupiter is expansion. Jupiter is a gas giant. Sometimes it promises more than it can deliver. Sometimes people often think of Jupiter as being very lucky, as bringing great expansive things, but sometimes it promises more than what it really can provide. That doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It just means that sometimes people say that they can do more than what they can really do. So just be aware of
This
that.
is in matters of work, again. This is
Right.
your whole chart, this whole reading. It's work and self. It's a
Right.
big thing, your goals. So when I say work, it's your career, it's your ambition, it's your goals. Now when it squares up with Mars, it typically empowers you in a way, because Mars is very powerful, it's physical, it's the body. And so there might be this overinflated ego. Again, we're mentioning ego. But because your Aries, which represents your ego and your physical body, is in your 12th house, there's going to be a lot of things that happen. So all these events, all these experiences, these interactions with people that aren't so nice, not that they're not nice, but the interactions aren't beautiful. They're kind of rough.
Right.
But they are, the whole point and the goal is to bring out things you weren't aware of about yourself.
Right.
And the way that you think, the way that you interact, and how you feel about yourself and your views.
And to make you aware that you're a much stronger person than you are actually cognizant of.
That's a really big point too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of hidden from you, which makes sense. You've got Aries in the 12th house. Here, Aries is our courage. Aries is fearless, and it's hidden from you. So you.
But
kind
what's
of got
going to
this-
happen is with having Jupiter and Pallas Athena together, Jupiter is expansive. Pallas Athena is the goddess who is a strategic female warrior.
She's the general.
She
actually.
is.
Yeah.
And so this is going to make you strategic. This is going to make you able to stand up for yourself. This is going to give you that ability. It's going to be squaring, so it's going to give you that desire to really fight for yourself.
Push comes to shove, you're pushing back.
Yeah. And
sort of thing, right?
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for you. I think you could use to push back for yourself quite a bit. Okay. I think that's a good thing.
All right, next date.
On August 3rd, there is a full moon.
There we go.
And the full moon is at 11 degrees of Aquarius.
There's
We
that.
have a T-square with
Oh,
Uranus.
I was just going to say, we all will be experiencing this. Okay, so where's my lighter? Oh, anyway, it's gone. So you've got Uranus up here, you've got the full moon over here, and you've got the sun over here. You have a big T-square. So it happens for you in your first house, your fourth house, but it's on the fifth house cusp line, which is children and romance and creativity and where you take a risk in life. And then the opposing part of that T-square is where the full moon is, and that is in your 11th house of friendships.
Right.
It's the sign of Aquarius, and you said the degree is 12 degrees or 11 degrees? Is it
It's at
degrees?
11.
Okay, so 11 degrees Aquarius, again, same as before with your other cusp line. This one is right between your 10th and your 11th house. So when that happens, it affects this house and this house. And so my goals, my ambitions, right, my career, and then friends and social circles and group energy. All right, T-square, friction, stress, tension. Got to work harder, got to work longer, got to keep going.
Right.
It's a condensed version of it all. But you have no private planets here, which is good. So there just might be, something doesn't go as quick or as easily as planned. And you might have to just redo something or, something small.
Then we have this really cool aspect coming up for you that is going to run from August 8th to August 24th. It's a couple of weeks.
Ready? Are you ready for this? Let's go.
This is Mars sextiling, the transiting Mars sextiling your Mars.
So that's Mars at 21 degrees in Aries.
Okay.
You have a Mars, your natal Mars is 23
23.
degrees in Gemini.
And it is going to be...
That sextiles also your Uranus in your fifth house, by the way, in Leo. A lot of romance, a lot of risk-taking, a lot of dating, flirting, having fun, creating. This is also the house of children.
Yep.
But when we say it's sextiles, that's a good thing.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
a good thing.
assistance from the universe.
Yeah.
Makes things easier.
At the same time, your sun, the transiting sun, is going to be passing over top of your natal Uranus, which is unexpected things, surprises,
different things.
New, different.
And likely different creations,
Yep.
which could also mean very different, unique people.
Yep.
And
there's also going to be a new moon during this time between August 8th and August 24th, and it's going to happen on August the 19th. Okay, and the moon will be at 26 degrees of Leo, which will be very interesting.
So when we talk about all this Leo stuff, Leo's that fifth house energy. This is romance and creativity. This is, again, risk-taking. This is having fun, gambling.
And this is when you
Children.
want to set your intentions about what kind of a
Dating.
partner you really,
Yes.
really want and deserve.
Can you repeat those digits again? So that's pretty close to her Uranus energy
That's
then.
26 degrees,
Okay.
35 minutes in Leo.
Just so you know, your Uranus, your natal planet Uranus, which is all about different, which is all about being very individualistic, which is the sign, really literally, it's the sign of astrology, but it's also the inventor, right? It's Thomas Edison's sign, definitely, because electricity. And you're at 23 degrees. The
Right.
new moon is at 27, so this is very powerful for you.
Right.
You have a great power, firepower, literally, because it's in
Literally.
Leo.
You're going to have a real sense or feeling of empowerment during this time, that there's going to be something or someone new, different, creative, risky.
It's almost like you can hear this person thinking, is that person I just met the one? Are they the one?
You're gonna
You know,
you're gonna
like
be
you can
going,
hear
wait,
Yeah.
what did that? What just happened? Is that for real? That doesn't seem real. Yeah,
Yeah, and this is all being trined, receiving a beautiful, beautiful supportive trine, even though it's retrograding from Mars, and Mars represents male energy,
yeah, yeah,
masculine energy.
yeah.
And it's in fire. It's at 20, 24, 25 degrees in Aries.
Yep.
So this is a very powerful time
Yeah.
for setting an intention.
It's going to be very nice.
And
so set those intentions about what you really want that relationship to look like.
please do, and be very detailed and be
Yeah.
very clear, because your Jupiter, your natal Jupiter, is involved in this as well, which means you'll have a grand fire trine for your new moon intention, which means you have the power of the universe at your beck and call, literally.
Oh, yeah.
Being straight with you.
Oh, that's true. That is a grand fire trine. That is
run with
awesome.
this. Run with this.
Oh, my gosh. A grand
So,
fire trine.
Seeing this in advance, watching this video in advance, you have time to think about what you want and what you are to tell the universe. This
Yeah.
is it. I'm ready.
Absolutely. September 2nd. Full moon at 10 degrees Pisces.
Alrighty.
Okay. This Pisces moon is going to be conjunct the south node, your south node.
You have your south node's at 10 degrees roughly.
Right.
And so this full moon will be building and touching that. And, you know, Pisces is all about forgiveness, acceptance, and release.
Right.
Letting go.
Right.
And it is, because it's the south node, it is what you're letting go. It's what you're releasing. It's what no longer is.
This
I'm finding
full,
peace with it.
This full moon sets up this most extraordinary configuration at this
this
time.
is that one.
This is the
Okay.
double, yeah,
Double grand trines.
a double grand trine.
In Earth. Now, these are in matters of what you're letting go, matters of home, what you want home to look like, what family is going to mean to you, who fits in the bucket of family, and significant one-on-one relationship, like 7th house significant one-on-one relationship.
Right.
The Earth one is going to be myself, what is important to me, because it's your first house, so that's at 10, 11 degrees of Taurus energy. Then we go to the Virgo energy. You've got the sun and you've got your north node there, and this is your 5th house, so romance and creations,
Right.
children, risk-taking, right, having a good time, having fun. This is really important. You know, whether
Right.
you've had that before or not in relationships, maybe they were just a little bit more, maybe there was something about it that was more appeasing in terms of producing things, you know, being busy, having similar creative passions. This is making, it keeps coming up. Laughter, having real, genuine fun is going to be very important. And then at the same time, it triggers
Pallas Athena.
your beliefs again.
Yeah.
It's what you believe. So it's a matter of releasing your old beliefs around yourself, a relationship. It's all,
Yeah.
it's a grand trine in earth and a grand trine in water.
And this is right after you've had a grand trine in fire. I've never seen anything like this.
You have unbelievable support.
Oh my gosh, the support for you in August to really take a hold of your life, set your own intentions, set your life path, and to get what you want is all right there. You just have to set the intentions and tell the universe what it is exactly that you want and to work towards it, and it'll be right there for the taking. It's so beautiful.
Don't lower your expectations, whatever you do, because when you have this kind of energy at your disposal, it is a matter of shooting for the stars.
Yep, absolutely.
It's not, hey, that's not going to exist because I haven't been able to find that. No, it's the other way around.
Right.
It's the other way around. You're shooting for, you know exactly what you don't want.
Right.
And so therefore what's left is what you want.
Right.
And you're making it real clear. September 11th, 2020. So this is the beginning of the Mars square Saturn. Well, Mars is at 28 degrees in Aries. Saturn's at almost at 26 degrees in Capricorn. And when you have Mars and Saturn squaring up, it requires, Mars is action and Saturn is discipline and rules. So it's disciplined action, meaning no shortcuts. You know, follow all the rules, whatever the procedures are, just obey. And don't be impulsive, because Mars likes to just be very fast. It doesn't think first without acting. It's Mars in Aries. It moves really fast. You want to make sure that you're thinking things through, following the rules.
Which should be easy for you,
Yeah.
being a Virgo
Very grounded person.
in the house of Virgo.
Yeah, the only uncomfortable thing is that it's rules. Not everybody wants to follow rules. And so this happens, again, this is getting close to your ascendant. So it's really, again, all about you. But it's still in your 12th house. So there might be some hidden ego stuff that comes out, right?
Yeah.
And then it's authority figures because it's Saturn. It's people who say, okay, these are the rules. These are the managers. These are people who are above you in some way.
Being as much Virgo as I am, I know that I tend to like to follow
The rules anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this person is that too. And this isn't a T-square either, by the way.
No.
Which is wonderful. Those, after you've dealt with T-squares, a regular old square is a walk in the park. Especially if you know about it in advance. Follow the rules, So this has to you do with your work and your goals and your ambitions, all right? It's that same Capricorn energy in your 10th house.
The one really nice thing that's coming along right about this time is you're having a Pallas Athena return.
Oh,
So-
sweet. That's like a long-term planner because she's a strategist, right?
Yep.
So you're really honing in on, okay, what are my goals for the long term, for the long haul?
Right. Strategic planning.
Yeah.
Strategic planning.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
And right after this, on September the 17th, we have a new moon at 25 degrees of Virgo. So this is going to be conjunct your Mercury.
Nice. Mercury is thinking and communication, sales.
Planning.
Siblings.
Yeah.
Mercury is short journeys. It's business.
Business.
It's commerce. It's trade.
Absolutely.
So-
and it's in your house of day-to-day work.
And it's job. This is nice.
It's in your house that also has Libra, all of Libra, which is, partnerships, bonded part. It's your the people that you date. It's the people that you create
significant one-on-one
relationships with.
Yeah,
Your
whoever those are.
closest friends, the people that you have business partnerships with. All of those things are in that house, and so this is really significant. So this is a really good time for you to make your intentions around those kinds of things happen right then. And because of the way that this is happening,
Here's something this new moon intention in particular for you, because it's with your Mercury at 24, 27, and you have a Mars, and your natal Mars squares it automatically at 23, 27. They're like, almost the same. And the North Node is on your Mars during this. Now, when you have Mars, which is your body squared by your thinking, and your Mercury, which it is in Virgo, in your 6th house, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. Depending upon what you're thinking, it totally affects your health, your digestive health. So this new moon, especially because the North Node's involved, squaring, right?
right.
Your intention is going to be about that. The things and the steps that you have to take, how to maintain, how to curb, how to discipline your thoughts so that you can have better health.
And because of the way that this one is happening and that it's happening in such a late degree, we also think that you should set your intention before the new moon. We typically usually say to wait until 2 or 3 days after, but in this particular case, we really think that you should set those intentions prior.
Yeah, I would. We're saying the 17th, so, on the 16th before you go to sleep, I would, go ahead and do that. That way the moon is still in the sign and it's still close to your natal Mercury, and it also won't be as what's the word I want to use, active from the square.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a good opportunity to figure out what it is about your thoughts, about yourself, especially when you relate with people,
Yep.
that conjure up these sort of uncomfortable situations where you end up having negative feelings and your health declines for it.
September 24th through the 28th, you're going to have a T-square that's going to line up with Mars at this time on your ascendant, on your rising sign. And this is going to involve...
All right, this is that Mars and that Mercury thing again.
It's Mars and Mercury. Mercury is sitting with Juno, and Mars is sitting with your rising sign, and this is square. They're both squaring Moon, Saturn.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a taste of what we just spoke about for your new moon intention, which is why your new moon intention is pretty important, because this North Node, the transiting node, doesn't move fast. I'm just going to be honest with you. And it's sitting on your natal Mars in your 2nd house, which is what I value, right? And
Right.
things that you value when you hear others communicate, and the idea that, gosh, I don't do that. I wish I could do that. I wish I could be like that. I just don't have that ability. You do have that ability. Yours is going to look different. And so you're kind of trying to lasso in those undisciplined thoughts and retrain them. It's really what it is, because it exactly squares your Mercury.
You're thinking.
Yeah, and it's in Virgo, which affects your digestive, affects your health.
And I completely get it.
Right, you get it.
I get it. So you might want to just really think long and hard about those thought patterns. It's going to be really difficult right now in that 4-day time period to think in a really positive way. So if you're having those recurring negative thoughts, just know that this is like 4 or 5 days. It's going to pass.
Yeah, being prepared for it helps. And Venus is actually going to be coming up soon, I see her, where she will be sextiling that north node. Venus will be that 21, 22, 23. Actually, when Venus gets to 23, matter of fact, it's very close here.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like September 25th, 26th. Venus suddenly is having a really good conversation with the transiting node.
Right.
And your Mars.
They'll be sextiling.
Because they're all going to be at the same degree. And so Venus adds ease. Okay, she makes things peaceful. She wants things to be fair. She wants things to be beautiful.
And Vesta's going to be there too. And Vesta is the representation of the Vestal Virgins. And the Vestal Virgins were, they were the light keepers at the temples in the Roman Empire. They were the ones that went and lit the lanterns in the temples. So they were the ones that were the keepers of the light. And they were the ones that shone the light.
What I love about this is Venus usually brings gifts, especially since she's going to be on top of your Uranus, which represents surprise. This is beautiful. This is
So
beautiful. I
it's
shouldn't have
gonna
said a damn thing. I
show-
should have stayed quiet because it won't be a surprise now.
So it's
But
going to
hey.
shine a beautiful surprising light. So
Yeah, give us updates. Want to hear how this works out.
yeah. So, there's going to be this dialogue that's going to be going on that's going to be kind of difficult. But once you get through it, once you come out of the other side of it, it's going to open up something for you. That's really our 6-month intensive. We want to give you a couple of heads up on a couple of difficult transits that are going to happen with Mars during the fall, just because Mars can be really a challenge. October the 14th through November the 4th is going to be a challenge, and this is going to go back to that same challenge that you're going to have from July the 27th to August the 8th. Now, it's not going to be quite as difficult as July the 27th to August the 8th, where Mars is squaring your midheaven and your IC. During that time in July, it's to the beginning of August, it's really important for you to remain calm. You're going to have a repeat of some of that in energy. It's not going to be quite as intense during this October 14th to November 4th energy. Mars will be moving in retrograde during this October to beginning of November transit. Whenever a planet is moving in retrograde, it's internalized. So some of the frustration, some of the aggression, some of the anger is going to be more turned inward. You might feel more frustrated with yourself as opposed to it being outwardly exhibited.
And you might not be aware of it because,
Right.
again, it's hidden in your 12th house. But
Right.
it's in Aries, which means a lot of it is self-frustrations.
Right.
Things about yourself you're frustrated about. You know,
Right.
like sometimes we say things when we don't learn something fast enough. We don't adapt fast enough. Or we keep making the same mistake over. And so we have these little...
I have a tendency that when I forget something or when I don't learn something as quickly as I want to learn something, I'll just sit there and go, Jesus, Amy, you're so stupid. And that is the absolute worst thing you can do to yourself. And I'm notorious for doing it all the time.
And because it's Mars, it's kind of simple to see because Mars wants things done fast. It has no patience.
Right.
And when it squares your midheaven, which is your goals and your career, when it squares your home, there's this... Mars is like that outsider who's peeking in like, what the hell? You still haven't got that done? You still didn't take care of that? You know what? You need to tell it to be quiet.
Yeah.
You know, take control of it, be aware when it happens, and just find some way to discipline it.
Right. It's like that annoying family member that you have that, and everybody's got one who just never gives you a break, you know? So Mars is that person. And it's that person that's in the back of your brain that's like, so it's going to pop up and it's going to be very internalized from in that October 14th and November 4th window. It's going to hit you again going direct, and it's going to be more external from November the 24th to December the 16th.
Something I want to add about this Mars energy, because we're going to be talking about Mars a lot.
Yeah.
Not necessarily here because we're pretty much done, but Mars is going to be a huge deal in 2020. It spends a lot of time in its sign Aries, and Aries is all about body, the physical body, and our self and our ego and our impatience. And Mars is the soldier. Mars is a fighter.
It often affects the health, and when you're talking about affecting the body, you're talking about how it affects the physical health
and possibly the head, because it's Aries energy. But
right, and the other thing is that Mars is going to be in Aries for 6 months.
Yeah, and
this
so
year.
when that energy is present, it can be within us. That's one way of it expressing. But if we hold it in, if we don't do something with it, if we don't allow it to somehow get out of us, you know, like maybe, I don't know, go knead some dough, do something very physical, go dig some holes, right?
Dig some holes,
do something.
put some plants in the ground, plant a garden.
Yeah, do something with the energy.
Do something really productive
Typically,
with it.
we can feel it come back to us in a way because it's just sitting here, and energy is energy. It doesn't disappear. So sometimes there can be people, especially when it's 12th house stuff, people can enter our life and they kind of come out of the blue. They were people who, they say the 12th house is hidden. So therefore, somebody all of a sudden comes to the surface that we weren't aware of. And some people say it's people from a long time ago in your life or past history, which could be past life history. So at this time, if somebody resurfaces and if they're sort of aggressive, assertive, if they're critical, if they're, you know, it's like oil and water, this is that. And this is a way that energy works. It either comes from within us or it comes at us from somebody else that we know, or in the 12th house case, someone we're not even aware of.
So just, that's a heads up for the fall, just so that you know that's coming.
All right.
Okay.
That's the end of the transits then?
Yep.
That last one was November 24th to December 16th, correct?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, hope this helps, and we're all in some trying times, so hang in there, and if you ever have any questions, comments, just go ahead, comment your stuff down below, and we will be in touch.
All right. Have a good one.
All right,
Take
stay safe.
care.
Bye-bye.